It's easy to think that this man right here is responsible for the worst superhero films. And to an extent, you're right. At least he is in the last decade. I need you to wind your memory back before the current era of superhero films. I know, it's hard to think of a time before Disney's Marvel monolith, but lest we forget, in the early 2000s and late 90s, Fox's X-Men franchise and Warner Brothers' various Batman tales were pulling in the box office dollars like nobody's business. While that era had some great films, it also, just like the modern day, made its fair share of absolute stinkers. Ang Lee's Hulk, Superman Returns, the other Hulk film, Daredevil, but there's one, head and shoulders below the rest, that claimed a director's career and, until 2017, had the most Razzie wins in the superhero category. Ladies, gentlemen, fresh from the litter tray, 2004's Catwoman. There isn't much that can prepare you for this film. I would recommend, various controlled substances, but I honestly think that you should see it sober the first time, just to, confirm to yourself that it isn't a fever dream. For better or for worse, the film starts with a really long opening credit crawl that throws exposition at the audience with newspaper clippings about rare breeds of cats, witches, and cat women across the globe and through history, and a director credit given to somebody called Pitoff. Jean-Christophe Comar, aka Pitoff, is, or was, in past careers, a French photographer turned special effect artist. His work includes features on the Asterix and Obelix franchise, La Cité des Enfants Perdus, and Alien Resurrection, which, by the way, does not exist. And if it did exist, it would have to be stupid, like really stupid. I'm talking a xeno-human hybrid birthed by a queen alien with a womb. But it didn't happen, because if it did happen, that will be another video. Because the film isn't done with the exposition yet, here's Halle Berry floating in water on the day I died.
If there had been an obituary, it would have described the unremarkable life of an unremarkable woman.
Oh no, this film is pretty darn remarkable, but not for the reason that Warner Brothers wanted it to be. Flashback a few days over what is, for 2004 standards, not a bad looking CG city, focusing on the entrance to a bustling company. This is Patience Phillips, an artist scared of confrontation that works at a cosmetic company designing adverts with Lois from Family Guy. No, really, that's Alex Borstein, who, besides working with Seth MacFarlane, is known for being my weird celebrity crush. She's got her hands on some pre-release face cream and also complains about a headache. No, really, that's the scene. Hilariously, this is more exposition on top of everything we've just had, but you'd be forgiven for not realizing it since we've been hit over the head with it like some kind of Snyder-esque Nerf bat. Make no mistake, Patience Phillips here is not Selina Kyle. However, they are very loosely tied to the same canon, particularly that of the earlier Batman franchise.
We will launch the most exciting and revolutionary product to hit the beauty industry since soap.
Holy rapid cuts, Batman! For such a simple line, that was a ton of unnecessary angles, and frankly, all it did was make the scene hard to follow. It looked cool though, which, believe it or not, is going to be a reoccurring issue. So, this revolutionary new anti-aging skin cream that somehow leaked out to somebody in marketing is the latest, greatest, best thing ever. Also, Sharon Stone is here. Like, she's everywhere. She plays Laurel Hadar, a model leaving the spotlight, and the speaker earlier was George, Laurel's husband. TLDR version, George's hilariously weird British accent and Laurel's dark circles reveal that a new model will replace her as the face of the company, starting with this new, highly anticipated anti-aging face gunk. It's good old ageism at work.
I look forward to seeing you all at the gala, where you can toast Adrena and our success in person.
Careful, George. She's not old enough to drink.
Why does it taste like cotton candy?
The gripping marital drama is only interrupted when Patience gets summoned in for a dressing down over her work being the wrong colour. The asshole boss character is, well, being the asshole boss character.
I have no idea why I expected your art to show better taste than your wardrobe. Oh, and do try and get a manicure, will you?
Holy HR nightmare, Batman!
Wait a second.
Okay, yeah, the point is to hammer home that Patience is an absolute pushover. Something that was already established 5 minutes ago. Whatever, Laurel sticks up for the young artist and she gets an extension to finish the project. Just on the off chance you still don't get that Patience isn't the slightest bit confrontational, it's now almost 4 AM and she can barely stand up to a disruptive, noisy party across the way. But she can look at a cat posing perfectly on a miraculously placed Ducati motorcycle. Twice!
Oh, yes, I should probably mention, the product placement in this film is insane. I guess when you have to recover a $100 million budget, you've just got to shill.
Smash cut to the next day, in which somehow our heroine got more than enough sleep. Or maybe not, since she goes out to save a stuck stray cat on a ledge. This goes about as well as expected, and a passing by policeman has to save her frumpy backside, as well as become the love interest. And again, because the film doesn't believe in letting the audience work out the goodies from the baddies, Patience drops her wallet, prompting the copper to find her and return it.
The screenplay had three writers, and I sincerely doubt that any of them met face to face. If they did, the film wouldn't re-establish what was already established. It's just continuously treading the same old ground.
Like, for God's sake, here we are again, replacing Laurel with the younger model. She was clearly not okay with it in the meeting. Why do we need another scene showing that her husband is a wanker and she hates being replaced? Whatever, just get to the bit where the copper, whose name is Detective Tom Lone, returns the wallet and rather unprofessionally asks Patience out for coffee. More flirting later, and oh, for God's sake, fast forward. Okay, this looks interesting. Patience is walking alone at night back to a different CGI cityscape to deliver the updated advertisement, only to find the doors are locked. Meanwhile, inside, Mr. Rapid Cut here delivers the bombshell. That new beauty cream is quite literally so toxic that if you stop using it, you get a cracking case of Heath Ledger Joker face. Apparently, Laurel is the only person at the company that knows this conveniently and doesn't want the cream delayed because money or something. Because we have a plot to advance, Patience stumbles in and the suits with guns chase her into a magical place that apparently has barrels that emit impossible light.
$100 million! Approximately, adjusted for inflation, $140 million in today's money. And they couldn't even get basic continuity right.
And now they're shooting at her for no real reason. Seriously, in the amount of time she was in that room, she barely saw or heard anything. So what gives with the Men in Black and the Nokia product placement? Escaping into a water pipe, Patience gets sealed in, and, well, you saw the beginning, she gets blasted out.
Before we go any further, I just want to ask you, how many times have we seen a cat so far? Is there any indication of, say, magical cats? Or that Patience even likes the damned felines?
Cast your mind back to the rather good Batman Returns, which is apparently set in the same universe as this film, to when Selina Kyle, played by the amazing Michelle Pfeiffer, becomes Catwoman. It's unsettling, it's amazing, and all the way up to it, the film dropped several hints and clues to set up this eventual development, and the immediate aftermath of her discovering her new self is brilliant. If you haven't seen Returns, I thoroughly recommend it. I mean, for Christ's sake, it has Danny DeVito as the Penguin. What more do you need? So, taking bets, what happens next then? Barring that brief appearance earlier, there is no real reason to believe that Patience here will get any kind of rebirth from a magical cat, right? Oh no, are they going to try and imitate the rebirth scene from Returns, but really badly with CGI cats? Oh no, no, stop making a circle of cats. Oh god, no, get off her chest, that's gotta be unhygienic, stop, why is there green breath and cat eyes?
I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here, but this should be a masterclass in why filmmakers need to stop being so reliant on CGI. I'm pretty sure this was groundbreaking 16 years ago, but right now it looks like an old video game. Nothing, I repeat, nothing will look as good as something actually in front of a camera. I'm not arguing to abolish the entire visual effects industry. I'm arguing to touch up something that's actually there, rather than creating something in Unreal Engine.
All covered in mud, alive, and clearly on a green screen, Patience's new powers come immediately to the table. But hang on a second, Catwoman has many skills, but no powers.
I don't bust it out often, but I am somewhat of a DC Comics fan. Catwoman's origin has been retold off the top of my head, I think at least twice, maybe 3 times with New 52. My point is though, in none of these scenarios has she ever had enhanced cat-like powers. She's supposed to be a mirror image of Batman, only with a much muddier sense of morality. So I'm going to propose that at this point we just take the idea of Catwoman and just... Clearly this is an original character, do not steal, and we should treat her as such.
And I know, someone is going to get smart about the Selina Kyle in Returns, but she never showed any kind of powers. I mean, she could have survived the fall, since it was broken up by several landings, and the end scene could be explained by Max Schreck being a bad shot, or by her shoving the taser and cable down Shrek's throat instead of joining him in tongue love. Tangent over, Miss Original Character Do Not Steal somehow gets home in this unnamed bustling city looking like a swamp witch and smashes a window to get indoors because, you know lady, you've gotten this far, you may as well have just used the door. Oh, and if you didn't get that she's a cat yet, now she's sleeping on a shelf.
You know, with all this showing and not telling, maybe this would fit into the modern DCEU.
The long and short of it is that after her rather eventful evening, Patience has overslept, missed her date with Officer No Boundaries, and is being screamed at by the cat that almost got her killed. Since I guess this is a lost cat, the logical thing to do is, well, to take it home. But there's a number. Wouldn't it just be easier to call first? Whatever, either way, another CGI skyscraper later, and we're here at Grandma Cat Hoarder's house. See, this cat here is called Midnight. She's a very special breed called an Egyptian Mau, despite the fact this cat is clearly a grey tabby and not a bloody Mau. Look, okay, this is an Egyptian Mau. This right here is a Mau. This is a tabby. Why am I getting this worked up over cat breeds?
By the way, the best kind of cat is a black cat. This is my black cat. His name is Ridley, and he's a gremlin.
To break down a needlessly long scene of yet more exposition, the Mau has special powers and,
I'm always here. Catnip.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
smash cut, and we're at the office being yelled at. Since, you know, she's a cat, and cats generally don't give a monkeys, she backtalks, finally standing up to Mr. Lipstick Not on the Lips, and, well, gets fired. Which, in plot terms, is nicely convenient for her to have a ton of free time to, hiss at dogs and purr at jewelry.
Sal?
Yeah, me too, Mrs. Griffin, but you need to stop using that toxic face cream. Speaking of plot convenience, here's Tom giving a talk at a school. Pretty standard stuff, until Patience just walks in. I'm sorry, but what? Is she a parent? Is she a teacher? How on earth did she get into this place without anyone stopping her?
I'm questioning the logic of the film with the magical CG resurrection cat. Maybe hard drugs would have been a better life choice.
Rev up the Destiny's Child, because now it's time for the mandatory awkward flirting scene, mixed with Patience discovering her new abilities. Or rather, mastering them immediately with no explanation. Mary Sue? Is that you? Whoever it is, can you please stop with the rapid cuts? It's actually giving me mild motion sickness. Plus, you really shouldn't be having this much sexual tension around children. And this film shouldn't have yet another exposition-filled filler scene showing that Laurel clearly resents the younger model.
Me as well, Laurel. Me as well.
Okay, geez, film. She's a cat. We get it. Holy mother of Smeg. Does Petoff need to come out with a spoon and make airplane noises? Do we need to finally pay off one of the 1,000 scenes with exposition? Sure, why not? Repeat the motorbike advert and the rowdy party, have her kick the door down and break up the party by hand. So that's how this Catwoman learns about whips? Filled with confidence, Patience cuts her hair, puts on a leather outfit, makeup, and sneaks out despite being pissed she missed out on sleep like 5 minutes ago. Oh, and of course, this is set to even more Destiny's Child.
Right, so Patience learns how to use a whip after 2 seconds with a keg hose. Okay, so you know earlier how I said I was going to yeet that DC knowledge out of my head? Well, we're going to now just bring it back for a second. I have to bring up Catwoman's origin has been retold I think twice, but the most, consistent one that I can think of is the one used in Batman Year One. In this particular scenario, in her past, she was working as a escort, specializing as a dot matrix. Now, for a lot of very good reasons, she kills her boss, turns to burglary, and uses the outfits and whip as a way to hide her identity and as a weapon she's familiar with. This is a very simplified version of it. Honestly, I'd recommend picking up the trades of Year One through to the Long Halloween. It's a pretty good afternoon, and honestly, it's kind of worth it.
The point of all that is that clearly Patience here has no sodding clue about that life, and just so happens to have skills that she'll happily demonstrate right here on these robbers. Remember that jewelry store from earlier? Well, it's being raided, and because this was directed by a madman, we get a crap pun.
You boys thought you could come in here and steal all these beautiful things? What a perfect idea.
And a CGI-filled fight scene that looks absolutely awful. Its rapid cutting hides so much of the action, the momentum of the blows is wild, and the camera just won't stop moving.
So this is the point of the film where I hit the pause button and decided to Google the achievements of the great Pitoff. As it turns out, as a visual artist, he may have been leading us on a bit.
This is Pitoff's IMDb page. It's a bit barren, especially after Catwoman, but there's something quite funny here in the visual effects section. See, under nearly all of the projects he's been assigned to in the last decade or so, he has a visual credit listing for color correction.
Hey kids! Have you ever wanted to be a visual artiste? Well, simply open up Premiere Pro, slap on the fast color corrector to footage, open up the wheel, and congratulations! Here is your $100 million budget!
The next morning, like any good alcoholic, Patience wakes up and discovers what she, or I guess what Catwoman did the night before, because now we have a split personality thing going on, I think. Whatever, everything but the claw necklace thing gets returned in an adorable little sorry paper bag that just has to be coated in fingerprints. Since I guess Patience is going to learn about what's happening to her instead of awkwardly flirt or beat people senseless, she decides to search the internet for clues, and of course give Apple some of that prime time real estate promotion in the middle of the bleeding shot. This scene is ultimately fruitless since it just flashes images rapidly at you, like a Porygon going for the seizure world record. Until midnight the cat pops up and the film diverts back to Grandma's house. Laying out the lore, Grandma turns out to be a history professor who specializes in cats. Okay, sure, I'll buy it. To be honest, she's so far the most grounded person, and her aesthetic reminds me of something that Camera Lady would do in Animal Crossing. She explains that the green breath thing was a special gift, and that Patience has been chosen to continue on the line of cat women in history. For the first reasonable moment in character, Patience doesn't buy into it, so Granny just...
Imagine if she'd gotten that wrong and Patience had just gone... It'd be a much shorter film. Probably a better one.
Oh, by the way, here's your blink or you'll miss it connection to the previous Batman films. Since this movie is completely off the rails at this point, let's just, pretend that this has nothing to do with any other DC universes and just accept it as a weird spin-off starring the Mary Sue in leather. Resolving, only of course after Granny lays out the facts, to find out who blew her out of the water pipe and why, Patience destroys a perfectly good pair of trousers and adorns an even skimpier outfit to go and leap off buildings or something. On the topic of the outfit, designer Angus Strathy said, "We wanted a very reality-based wardrobe to show the progression from demure, repressed Patience to the sensual awakening of a sexy warrior goddess."
I don't know what kind of reality that Strathy lives in, but I suspect it's the kind where every bathtub has a lifeguard.
No joke, this CG wall jumping turned catwalk nonsense goes on for way too long. It's almost the length of the full song that I cannot play because if I did, EMI would pick me up by my ankles and shake me down for pocket change. Right, so where are we now? Oh, okay, we're at a bar. We've followed one of the goons from earlier into this club thing to dance, to sell some designer clothes, advertise Budweiser, and hang on, wait, where did she get that whip from? And how did she throw him so hard he went from a private booth into the back alley? No, play that again. I'll buy movie magic, but for Christ's sake, that was a god-awful jump cut. but yet again, not as awful as the flurry of fast shots and CGI that makes up the fight scene. One cringy interrogation later, it's revealed that the goon just got told to flush the pipes, and that there's something wrong with the face cream. Well, duh, we know that, we saw that, why are we going around in circles? And tell me, why does Catwoman not let him finish? She punches him out and assumes that the angry, shouty Englishman is the culprit, and not Laurel, like, we saw earlier.
The last 45 or so minutes are just repeating the same plot points that we heard in the first hour. Why bother?
Did any of the three writers not think, hey, we could, say, have the plot progress as this character discovers who she is, but also what happened to her, and have it come to a natural conclusion at the end? Well, she finds a dead body and a janitor who runs off. Oh no, she's gonna be the patsy for this. Okay, I can't. There's like 2 more scenes after this that are like meaningless fluff just to pad out the runtime. They add quite literally nothing new, so we're just gonna skip ahead to okay, to here, Tom's office. Finally thinking with his head, and not his genitals, Detective Lone notices that the handwriting on the coffee that Patience gave him is rather similar to the bag the jewels were returned in. Fair enough. Time for analysis. What do the geeks have to say about this?
Well, it's not an exact science. But this first one, the broad spacing of the letters, indicative of loneliness. And the O, reaching out, insecure, handwriting of a people pleaser. Now, we look at the loop of the Y, very self-confident, almost angry. And the O, well, this person doesn't like to play by all the rules.
So they're different people.
Very. If you put these 2 women in the same room, you're gonna have one hell of a party.
Sorry, are we solving crimes now with interpretive readings of someone's personality through their bloody handwriting? What's next? The tea leaves are gonna crack open the Lindbergh baby case?
With a clean conscience, Tom meets up with Patience for a date that must of course go wrong in a scene that could have been half as long. So yet again, we're just gonna skip to the meat of it, which is at this Ferris wheel, which just happens to go bananas. This kid almost falls. Tom climbs down in all hero mode or macho man mode, while in the background, and somehow without being seen by a funfair full of onlookers, Patience uses her CGI powers to save the brat from falling.
I didn't realise that invisibility was among the arsenal of cat powers.
A few hours and a little fan service later, Catwoman breaks into the home of the unhappy couple to investigate. She gets caught by Laurel, who we already know is the villain, so it makes this really bad setup with her pulling the whole sisters routine all the more terrible, and also funny since she sicks the kitty on George at the opera. To be fair, he kinda deserves it.
I think this is a total waste of time.
Don't
What?
think ever.
Also, don't vote, don't have a career, and don't you dare go outside without a male escort. This is 1955 after all.
The cops show up, and since we didn't get enough awkward flirting and inappropriate physical contact earlier on the basketball court, Tom and Catwoman have a scrap that results in nothing of value, well, barring a kiss. Seriously, we know they have the hots for each other. Of course she's getting away because we've still got half an hour of runtime left. Can we just get on with this?
For once, George, in your miserable life, be a man.
Well, shit. Okay, then yeah, that'll do the trick. Apparently the skin cream is indeed toxic, but if you use it in excess, you get indestructible skin. Just don't stop using it. Otherwise, Joker face.
Love that Joker.
Now, I'm no expert on women, but ladies, is this how you eat sushi on the second date? And this scene gets way too hot and heavy after this, so have a blur. Wow, I wish you could see behind this, but I'm trying to grow this channel and not get Susaned.
Have I shilled enough, by the way? Subscribe! to my OnlyFans.
Speaking of shilling, after promoting Dasani in a retail store fridge that Patience apparently owns, leaving his lovely lady patting the bed, Tom steps on, oh no, the claw from that necklace. One glass, a trip to the lab later, and yeah, he's worked it out. Meanwhile, Catwoman sneaks off to meet Laurel, who is obviously gonna backstab her. It's a setup! Here's the cops! Here's Tom! You're nicked, mate! Well, not after you sell the designer tracksuit and cash that check from Sears. Then, and only then, can you catch your perp.
Here's a thought. If Sears had invested more money into, say, moving their business online, rather than buying up spots in crappy films like this, then maybe, just maybe, they wouldn't be fighting bankruptcy every quarter.
Because these cops really don't seem to care about protocol, Tom is doing the interrogation, which goes about as well as you'd expect. TLDR version, Patience pleads innocence to the murders, and that Laurel has a toxic face cream about to hit the shelves. But of course, there's no real evidence of that.
May have lost your woman, but at least you got your man.
Did I?
And now the finale. Reminded that she's got cat powers by midnight, Patience quite literally slips through the bars and out the window, aided by the power of CG. And, a Jaguar.
At least the product placement makes sense. I'll be honest, at this point I'm just fishing for any and all positives.
Despite the untimely death of the company's head honcho, the product will still be launched on Monday, so it's time for Catwoman to step up and take care of the delivery trucks. Wait, hang on, how did she get the costume back? Did she have a spare? She clearly didn't leave with a bag. Did Jaguar guy have a spare woman's catsuit in the back?
Oh, I'm doing it again, aren't I? Adam, stop questioning the bad movie's logic.
Tom confronts Laurel, gets shot because, well, duh, no shit, she's the baddie, and Catwoman bursts in to save the day. What follows is just poetry. Cinematic poetry. You'd think a fight in a warehouse full of photos of Sharon Stone would at least have a Basic Instinct joke, but no. Here we are with a film that, it might actually be worse than Basic Instinct 2.
Oh, there's the joke.
What's odd is that this fight has very little CGI, and it's even somewhat well choreographed. Like I said earlier, Laurel has the whole indestructible skin thing thanks to the cream, and it's refreshing to see Catwoman struggle for once, instead of just, mop the floor with everyone she fights. Sadly though, at the end it all goes a bit computerish.
Game over. Guess what? It's overtime.
And here the video game cutscene starts, as does the obvious comeback. After wiping, yes, literally, wiping the makeup off Laurel, Catwoman yeets her out the window, only for her obviously a ragdoll body double to fall to a rather PG-13 death. Okay, so can we wrap this up now? Tom, tell her to go back to the cell so there's evidence that she's not Catwoman, so, you can actually pin it on Laurel, since Laurel actually did the crimes, will ya? Cheers, mate. Oh, Patience, since you're now a fierce, independent woman, I need you to walk off to an early 2000s R&B song after blowing off Tom. But instead of actually walking, we'll have the boys at the render farm do the shot, so you can just go out, and accept your awards at all the ceremonies in person. Okay? Sound like a plan? Sounds like a plan.
And that's not a joke. Through this review, I've been really hard on Petoff, and for good reason. Halle Berry, who at the time this film started production, had just won a very well-deserved Oscar for Monsters Ball. She spent a year doing training in various martial arts and even learning how to crack a whip. So imagine her reaction when she doesn't get praise for this film. She doesn't win anything. Well, she did win something. She won a Razzie. However, she didn't just win the Razzie. She owned it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Halle Berry.
Oscar in one hand and Razzie in the other. The uncontested queen of the world. Kudos, Miss Berry. That right there is testicular fortitude of the highest order.
It's a shame that Pitoff went in the other direction. Unlike Berry, who owns it, he's become very defensive, slipping into somewhat obscure territory these days. Every now and then he pops up doing interviews in which he bizarrely chooses to defend the film. So next time you see a terrible clickbait article from Sci-Fi about how this film is an underrated gem that we weren't ready for, remember, we almost had a Michelle Pfeiffer-led spin-off instead of this. Alright, so now I've done this terrible feline film, what's next? Right, Cats, the Butthole Cut.